Dzień dobry, assalamu alaikum, ciao, konnichiwa, good morning, good morning, good morning. It's International Women's Day, so happy International Women's Day. Particularly in Eastern Europe, it's a very, very well celebrated thing. And I think carnation's the flower, correct me if I'm wrong, ladies. And happy International Women's Day to you. Apparently we should give a flower to all the women today. Careful which one you give, as my wife told me once. Apparently rose is the wrong one to give if you don't want to send, or maybe you do want to send that impression. So how are you? I hope you're well. Interesting point in the war, I thought, yesterday, with all of a sudden we see Putin starting to give concessions. Not many, but it's interesting that he now says he doesn't want to take over the whole of Ukraine, but just the regions that they'd already had in dispute. Not that it's likely that he's going to get them, but I just thought it was interesting that he's making concessions, and that's new and bodes well. I think he's struggling. I think he's in trouble. The only thing that worries me slightly, it's a bit like poking the bear, isn't it? You know, he's in a corner. What does he do next? Let's hope it's not the ridiculous thing. So how are you? Hope you're doing well. I wanted to talk to you about property development today. Just a quick one, because I just had a discussion with somebody and they've got a potential site and they weren't sure what to do. And we had a long discussion about what was the best way that we could help them to develop the land that they have. And they've got a fantastic plot of land, plenty of potential, and they were wondering what the next step should be. And my advice is always get yourself a good architect, apply for planning. Why? Because otherwise you're selling a maybe. And no dealers want to know about a maybe. They want to know what they can build on your site. And if they don't see, then the casualty will be the price you eventually achieve for it. So if you want to be sure to get the best possible price and you have a site, make sure you go out there and get that planning permission first. It could make a substantial difference to the final price you achieve for the land. And then, in my experience, auctions are the best place for it. We do auctions, as many of you will know, via our network partner, our network auctions partner, fantastic group. And we do have lots in the next 2 auctions coming up, actually. We've got one at the moment, a lovely house in Beach Road needing lots of work. And then the one after that, we've got a short leasehold flat coming up, and there'll be other lots as well. So, you know, interesting thing, auctions, there's a beauty to them and it can be hard as well. So they're not ideal for first-time buyers and the like, because the hammer goes down, you do exchange contracts. And the difficulty for buyers with mortgages is that you could well bid on it and not get it, and then you've wasted your money on valuations and the rest of it. And the other thing is you could have your valuation done, your mortgage offer out at a certain price, and the property could exceed that price substantially. So that can be a difficulty. So auctions not for the faint-hearted. We love them. There is something about them. Flip side, if you're a seller and you want to be sure that you get the money in the bank in a short period of time, it's a beautiful thing. Unlike on the residential sales market, where we're currently running at, over 90 days now for the average sale, at auction, the hammer goes down 28 days later, the money is literally in the bank. It's a beautiful thing. So let's look at the headlines for today. House prices increased at the fastest rate since 2007, according to The Independent. Halifax said that the 10.8% annual rate of house price growth was the strongest since 2007. The increase took the average house price across the UK to a new record high of 278,123. Property values increased by 0.5% month on month. And the managing director of the Halifax, Russell Galley, said a lack of supply continues to underpin rising house prices. Well, we've been saying this for a while, haven't we? That the likely thing is, when in doubt, do nout. And with the crisis in Ukraine, energy costs going through the roof, a lot of people are not sure. And when they're not sure, they tend to do nothing. That further exacerbates the fact that we've got no housing stock at all, or very little. And therefore, what supply is out there will achieve a premium price. And at Knight Frank, again, same thing from City AM. They're saying annual house price growth is unlikely to return to single digits this spring. Annual UK house price growth accelerated to 12.6% in February 22 to an average of 260,000, according to the latest figures from the Nationwide. It's funny, isn't it? It's 260 versus the 278, but it's close enough that we can ignore the difference. Gove has made a $4 billion threat to house builders. This is all about the cladding. Forcing them to foot the bill for repairs on big buildings. As I said, there are many of these building companies that go bust, and therefore the people get away with it, you know, especially small developers. I always remember years ago, there was a big development in Richmond, and on the back of that, the builders promised to rebuild the ice rink in Richmond. And what did they do? Built the development, sold it, went bust, never built the ice rink. So, you know, and the same has happened with many small developments. We've got many here in the Norbury area where the the developers have built the houses, built the flats, and then walked away, and they've gone bust. And therefore, you can't then pursue them because the companies are limited. So that can be a frustration. Mortgage deals are disappearing at the fastest rate since 2020. This is with the rising interest rates, the standard variable rates going up. And the average standard variable rate now is 4.46%. And it now stands at 4.61. It's gone up over the last month. The 0.15% increase is the biggest monthly rise that Moneyfacts has on its record. So that's quite indicative of rising interest rates. Moneyfacts said the incentive to switch for those on an SVR, standard variable rate, that is, remains clear, with the average 2-year fixed rate mortgage having a rate of 2.65 and the average 5-year rate at 2.88%. The fixed rates on the market have also seen an increase, though. Moneyfacts said the average since the 2-year and 5-year fix is the highest since April 2019. UK faces the biggest income squeeze in nearly 50 years. This is a Resolution Foundation warning that a typical household's income will fall by about £1,000 this year, largely due to the energy crisis, the cost of fuel, oil, and everything else. And the conflict in Ukraine, we're all going to pay for in one way or another, unfortunately. But it's a small price to pay when you look at what's going on out there, isn't it? Those poor people of Ukraine. But I think there's going to be a surprising turnaround there. I'm quite optimistic. And, I know a lot of people are sort of, will this ever end? It will end. It will end. And when it does end, the pieces will be picked up and the people of Ukraine will get back to their homeland. Of that, I'm sure. It's just going to take time, money, and we're all going to take the pain a little bit, none more so than those that have lost family, friends, and loved ones. My heart goes out to you if you're in that position. And there are many, many people, especially in Norbury here, that have relatives both in Russia and in Poland and the surrounding areas. So they're right in the middle of this humanitarian crisis, which is only going to get worse in the short term. Apart from that, we have a beautiful day here in Norbury. It's one of those crisp, blue-skied, beautiful, sunny days. When the sun's a little bit low in the sky and you're driving along and it's kind of like, oh, but actually just nice to see you, Mr. Sunshine. And long may it continue. Great day for photographs as well. When the sun comes out in the sort of springtime, we find that it's a really crisp kind of white light, but it's more yellow in the summer, and it can make a good difference to photographs. We're also seeing good action in some of our upmarket houses. So that's good to see that the market's moving, not just at the lower end, because the market at sort of 400,000 to 600,000 is very hot, but actually the upper market's quite busy too. So it's good to see that it's right across the board. It's not in one particular sector. Flats also are busier than they have been, which is nice to see. So right across the board, the sales market, there's confidence around, regardless of the conflict in Ukraine, the energy squeeze, and generally, it just seems that although there's all these negative factors at the moment, the one thing that's bucking the trend is property. And, it did this right throughout the pandemic, didn't it? And it's one of the reasons why I think there's been a newfound confidence in it, is the resilience of UK property has been incredible right the way through the pandemic, and the resilience of the rental market as well. Looking through what actually happened during the pandemic and the how tenants performed, it's been fantastic. And the response from landlords has been great. Everyone trying to muck in together and sort things out. So aside from that, busy day-to-day on valuations. Hope you're well. That's it for today. We'll be back tomorrow with another Ken at 10. Until then, look after yourselves, and if you can, your family and friends. Ciao.